Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jimmy, and as promised in this video, I'm going to be going over how to choose your first DSLR camera. So there's a few things I'd like to point out quickly before I get into the actual video. And the first being, I am not a professional photographer, nor do I classify myself as one. I've only been doing photography properly for about a year now, but I've had a DSLR for about 2 to 3 years. Now I'm just going to be sharing what information that I've read and what I've heard and what I've, discovered on my own over this time, and hopefully it helps you guys out. Now the second one being, I am a Canon user, so I will be talking mainly in Canon specifics with the camera models. However, I am a totally unbiased person when it comes to brands between Canon and Nikon and Pentax and Sony and stuff like that. I don't think one is better than the other. I would recommend either Canon or Nikon personally, but it's really up to you. And let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing that you really need to think about is, what are you going to be using this camera for and how much are you willing to spend? Now that first one is a really important factor, and it's going to determine the camera you buy. Now you might be looking at getting this camera to mainly shoot sports, you might be getting it mainly to shoot videos, or you might just be getting it to shoot everyday things or take it on a holiday. Now these are all different things that are going to determine the camera that you want to buy. Now if you're just buying a camera to shoot everyday things, any camera will probably be fine for you. You can get a nice entry-level DSLR like a 550D or a 600D or something like that. It's going to take perfectly fine photos, it's going to get you good results, and it's going to be relatively cheap. Now if you're looking at doing something more specific, so if you're looking at shooting sports, you most likely will want to put a bit more money into that first camera, and you might want to get something like a Canon 7D, which has a faster burst rate. That way it's going to help you capture that action. It's also got more advantages, like it's weather sealed and all this other stuff, so have a look at the different camera brands, and depending on what you want to use it for is going to govern what camera you want to buy. Now there's one quick thing I'd like to say. If you are going to be getting it mainly for video, you're going to want to look at Canon, in my opinion. Now with the entry-level cameras, what I've read, what I've heard, and what most people say is Canon is better at video for the entry-level cameras specifically. Now this isn't necessarily the case for something like a 5D Mark III versus D800. Nikon's pretty even in that regard. However, with the entry-level cameras, I'd recommend Canon. So if you are mainly looking at video, I'd go Canon. So the next thing that you might want to do is go into a store and pick up the camera and pretty much get a feeling of it in your hands. Now I didn't do this, but I know a lot of people, pretty much everyone recommends that you do this. So go into a store, ask to just hold the cameras, pick them up, see how they feel, because each camera is made differently. Each camera has different button layouts. You might prefer Canon over Nikon, you might prefer Nikon over Canon, and this might be the factor that determines what camera you're going to buy. So definitely do that, and you might find which camera you like better. So one other thing I'd quickly recommend is have a look online for these cameras. Now I know a lot of people are hesitant to buy online because, what if it breaks, it's a hassle to return, all this kind of stuff, but I definitely recommend just having a look at the prices online anyway. From what I've seen in retail stores compared to online, there is a huge difference in price between, the exact same product. From what I've seen, I've saved a few $100s on lenses as well as camera bodies, so definitely check that out before you rush into buying something out of a store. So one of the last things that I want to talk about is, how old is the person who's going to be using this camera, whether it's you, a friend, a family member, your kid, anything like that. You don't want to buy a huge bulky camera like a 7D for someone who's only 13 and starting photography. Now of course it's a really good camera and you might want to spoil them or whatever, but chances are that's probably a little bit big and a bit heavy for someone that age. You might want to start off with something like a 550D. It's a really small body, it's really lightweight, and it's just something that they'll easily be able to hold in their hands. Now me personally, I use a 5D Mark III, and it is a huge difference between weight as well as how big the body itself is between a 550D and a 5D Mark III. So just think about that. You don't want to buy a huge bulky camera for someone who's going to be carrying it around a lot. It's just going to get really heavy and annoying. So think about the size of the person as well as the size of the camera. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about is, where are you going to be going with your photography? Now this is really important. You have to really think about this before you buy that initial purchase. Now the reason I say this is, after you buy your initial camera, you're most likely going to be buying a few different lenses. Now a lot of people do just stay with that general kit lens, and if you are just taking everyday photos, that's going to be fine with you. You don't really need to worry. However, if you are really serious with your photography, if you want to try and get into professional work, if you know you'll be doing this for years, you really want to think about that initial brand you buy. Since after you buy that initial camera body, you will be buying a few different lenses to go with it, and this will cost you, depending on the lenses you get, anywhere up to, a few $1,000s. So these lenses are made for those specific brands, so if you buy a Canon lens, it's not going to fit on a Nikon camera. So say if you buy an entry-level Canon camera and you buy 2 L lenses like I did, if you pay about $3,000 for 2 lenses, and then you suddenly realize that you want a Nikon camera. Those lenses are now useless and you're going to have to try and sell those lenses, and it's going to be a huge hassle and cost you a lot of money to switch brands. So really think about the 2 different brands, or all the brands that you're considering, and which one's going to be better for you in the long run. And that's going to save you a lot of hassle down the line. It's going to save you a lot of money, and yeah, that's really something that you need to think about. So that is pretty much it for this video. I hope this helped. If you have anything else, if you're a photographer and you have any other advice, leave it in the comments below. If you have any additional questions, you can go like my Facebook page and send me a message through Facebook. I'll put the link in the description. You can also check out my photography on there if you are interested. Otherwise, feel free to leave any suggestions for topics for next week's video. And I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button to help my channel out. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.